Hello guys, just want to do a quick review of the GbpJpy trade from this morning. One of those things is there's nothing wrong with this trade. All the rules of the system were followed. I moved to break even at the right time in terms with my risk management rules. The level was a bit questionable because we got these two drops here, so the lower manipulation point obviously potentially would have held. Well, in fact the lower manipulation point did hold. We've got this what appears to be more of an order block here, and I think on the 5 minute we had this little bit of imbalance here. If you can just take note of that there, so that got filled, okay, pretty quickly, and you can see the rejection from this level. So I was looking at a couple of things. Number one, obviously we've got this area, and with yesterday's price action being a bit shit, we did have a rejection from here. We actually had a stop run of both levels. Okay, so we stop run this level, took liquidity from there. We also took liquidity from here, and then this very bearish 15-minute candle. That was my signal to get in. And I think at the time I was looking at it and I was thinking, right, shit, this is moving so quick, I may not be able to get in. But as you know, I do like to get in as tight as possible with the smallest stop loss size that I can. So yeah, I got in with a 23 pip stop loss, which that's not a lot on a GJ trade, because this GJ can move 200 pips in a day, so we're about what, an eighth of the price action potentially for the day. We had this area here, okay, which was rejection of the lower manipulation point. So that for me was almost a buy situation. But if you look at the overall price action, okay, first thing I point out is this daily stop run. Okay, we've gone up to about 66,500 and we've rejected. We've actually come down all the way to the starting point here, and then the second day in we've moved bearish again. If we look at the 4 hour, again it's a little bit messy in terms of price action on this pair. We've got this area here, so that was basically where I wanted to select my lower manipulation point. It was around about here, maybe a bit lower down actually. But on the 1 hour, you can see that the upper manipulation point here is not actually an order block on the 1 hour. We've got this rejection area here. So anywhere within this sort of area really, I mean, there's no such thing as a perfect manipulation point in terms of placement. We just got to try and pick out the best levels to trade from and trade with a system. If you also look, I've marked this area off. This is the previous day's high, okay? And as a general rule of thumb, when you start coming back up to this area and we start rejecting, the general sort of what basically happens then is that should then break this low, and so on and so forth until market cycle ends. So we had a couple of confirmations here. All right, we've got this candle here, okay, which closed obviously in its low 1/3. You didn't need to use the Garden box because it's closed with virtually zero pin. So my entry point was going to be around about the halfway point of this. That would, as it did, give me a nice 23 pip stop loss. And I thought, right, if that's the if that's the high of the day, liquidity's been taken from New York session here. We should then go down at maybe to these lows or maybe even the manipulation point. So I was aiming for around about 3R, but obviously we didn't quite get there. In terms of what happened through the trade, I think if you look at the fact that we've come down and we've broken back in the Asia session, we've created a new low, a new higher high, or a new low, higher low should I say, sorry. We're still coming down, but if you look at what happened yesterday, and I think this is holiday season, so we've got Easter, Good Friday tomorrow, Easter Monday, Easter Sunday, etc. price action starts to get a little bit scrappy. We've got this 9 o'clock, 9:30 area here where price did exactly the same thing. It's come back up to the entry point here from 8:30, 10:10. It's back at this entry point. It's taken all the liquidity out of the market for the day, and well, not much really happened then after that. We've got the same sort of situation here, which is why, you know, I'm happy to sit on my hands now until next week, because we've had this huge drop, 45 pips. I think what I should have done, and maybe the only thing that I got wrong, I'm about half a pip, maybe a pip away from 2R here. I should have been banking at 2R and just walking away for the day and saying, right, that's enough for me, good week. Yeah, let's just get out of here and let's go do something for the weekend. But price action is obviously very scatty. Says to me that not a lot of the banks are actually in play today. I think on a normal week we're aiming down here 70, 71 pips. I think I was aiming for. Yes, 68, 70. I was aiming for around about this area, anywhere around here, and unfortunately it didn't happen today. The thing I like to think in the back of my mind when I'm trading is, you know, I'm going to take this break even. I'm going to take the 3 pips. I'm going to close the trade. I'm not going to be re-entering on impulse. I'm not going to be re-entering on anything else, you know, because I'm getting anxious that I'm getting left behind. I could take this trade every day of the week because I know one time the trade is going to drop to my take profit. It's going to go. It's just a matter of being patient. I think when people talk about being patient within the markets, a lot of people don't actually speak about that. They speak about, you know, sitting on your hands, not taking the trade, waiting for the setup. We're getting, you know, some nice setups at the minute on, especially on the Aussie, GbpJpy, and maybe not so much at the minute on GU, but it will, you know, they'll come. The 5-minute entry is working very well for me at the minute. Could have had 2R here. Unfortunately, I didn't. Maybe I was a bit greedy today, thinking that, you know, I get my 3R and I don't need to be so pushy with the trades next week. But yeah, I think in terms of, you know, how the system works, this is you know, it was a very good trade. It was a very good setup. We broke through this lower level here, and this is where I moved to break even. So I've gone +2. I think I ended up around about +3 by the end of the trade, because I keep moving it down a little bit as the trade moves further away from my entry, just in case the worst happens. And I do that just to cover the commissions, because when you look at your profit and loss on your account and you've hit break even, but it's like, well, that was minus £100 or minus £70 or whatever it is, it doesn't, you know, it still looks like a loss. So I just like to cover my my commissions as well, because ultimately if you're gonna keep, you know, banking negative commissions, they're going to add up over time. So I like to cover my commissions. So yeah, I didn't re-enter. Again, we didn't quite come down here. You can see these, you know, highs are getting lower. It's more like an accumulation. We've got a double bottom situation here. So for me, for the rest of the day, I wouldn't actually be looking at anything on this pair. I'd move on to something else. But yeah, just one of those things. We sit and we wait. I know if I take this trade setup, you know, day in, day out, sometimes they move 30 pips, sometimes they move 20 pips, sometimes they're going to move 100, 150 pips. It all depends on the market and market conditions and the volume in the market. Ideally, I think kicking myself a little bit, because I should have banked the 2R, but I had my phone on the holder in the car. I was taking my son to work, and I said, oh, look at this, right, whatever happens, if it goes to break even, I just move on and go again next week. He said, why didn't you just bank it now? I said, well, you know, I'm aiming for 3R. And when I left, when I dropped him off, there was a nice big wick on a 5-minute showing, and by the time I got in through the door, yeah, the trade was at break even. So just one of those things, aggressive market conditions, or whatever you want to call it. just not really a trading day. I mean, look at the price action. It's not going anywhere. It's moved 45 pips this morning, up and down. Where there are 60 pips. There's no way that was going to go to my entry. It's just not happening today. But I say a lot of banks are taking holidays. There's nothing to worry about. We just wait for the next setup. One time it will move 1 hour. Next time it moves 6 hour. Sometimes, not very often, but a couple of times a year they move 10 hour. So we just play the long game, as I've always said, and we wait for the next setup, and we do exactly the same. All right, guys, have a good weekend.